The honeymoon, that romantic vacation taken by the newlyweds to celebrate their marriage. Years ago, typically honeymoons would start on the night of the wedding, with the couple leaving midway through the reception to catch that late train or ship. Preferably not that one there. However, in the 21st century, many couples don't leave until 1 to 3 days after the ceremony. And with the tourism industry being what it is today, it can be overwhelming choosing a hot spot, and the chances of both spouses agreeing is slim to none. I mean, nothing screams a romantic honeymoon like a husband sleeping on a bench at the Louvre. Some popular destinations these days would include places like Rome, Paris, Sonoma, Bora Bora, Cape Town, Aruba, Jamaica, and so on. I never knew this until now, but Niagara Falls was considered, and still is today by some, to be the honeymoon capital of the world. By today's standards, I can definitely understand a bit of the appeal. There's a wide array of romantic options when it comes to planning out the ultimate getaway. Niagara Falls is like a mini Las Vegas, home to amazing restaurants, live entertainment, shows, helicopter tours, boat tours, amazing views of a lit up falls, a giant Ferris wheel, and of course, Clifton Hill, which will be a video on its own very soon. Over 50,000 honeymooners flock to Niagara Falls every year, and those numbers aren't declining. But it wasn't always like that. Long before the luxury hotels and casinos, the water parks and the wineries, Niagara Falls was a sleepy town that focused on only the waterfalls. And not everyone was able to see it. You needed money to get here. It was more common for the wealthier honeymooners. But what's absolutely crazy is that this natural wonder has attracted newlyweds for over 215 years, longer than Canada itself has been a country. Although traveling for pleasure in the 19th century was very uncommon, people were doing it, and it was around this time in history Niagara Falls would start earning its reputation of being the honeymoon capital of the world. Hey guys, my name is Andrew Gaidola. This is Lost Memories, Episode 3. But before the word honeymoon itself, like many other English words, evolved over time. The term was first seen in the 14th century describing the sweet beginnings of a marriage. But since the tourism industry was virtually non-existent in the 14th century, we would have to wait until 1804 to find the first piece of popular writing using honeymoon to describe a post-wedding trip. 18-year-old Theodosia Burr, the daughter of U.S. Vice President Aaron Burr, visited the falls with husband Joseph Alston. Alston was a wealthy landowner and future South Carolina governor. Like I said before, people with money. It is also said that Napoleon Bonaparte's younger brother, Jerome, visited Niagara with his bride in the early 1800s. The couple had reportedly traveled to Utica, New York, all the way from New Orleans by stagecoach, then took horseback and camped their way to Niagara Falls. Trekking 1,200 miles in the 1800s from the south to see some waterfall and buy some shitty fridge magnet may have been bullshit! But the challenges of transportation would start to dramatically improve. By the 1820s, America would have its first superhighway that would improve travel on an unprecedented level and change a nation forever. Meet the Erie Canal. A man-made waterway that was 40 feet wide, 4 feet deep, and stretched an incredible 363 miles, connecting the Hudson and Lake Erie. During its 150-plus years in operation, thousands of boats would travel up and down the canal transporting goods like wheat, lumber, raw materials, and of course tourists. In fact, Niagara Falls was prepared for the flow of tourists the minute the Erie Canal opened. The first inns in Chippewa were built as early as 1796 to accommodate visitors who came through town for commercial and defense purposes. Later on, however, tourism in the area triggered a flurry of development closer and closer to the falls, giving early honeymooners a variety of options when they landed in the area. In a few decades following, development of railroads in New York and southern Canada allowed for even more convenience between popular destinations. It's around this time, honeymooning would start to become a popular thing to do. You know, it's easy to forget that every year people from all around the globe choose to dedicate a great deal of their time and money just to come to Niagara. And I live here. Now there are a few routes into the falls, but we will be coming in through the west on a very historic road called Lundy's Lane. Now Lundy's Lane historically became famous because of the Battle of Lundy's Lane, or also known as the Battle of Niagara. Back in 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain, and Niagara was the focal point. The Brits had forts on the Niagara River on both ends, Fort George and Fort Erie. They were situated there to essentially protect the peninsula from any invasion, but that was inevitable. After a few attempts of capturing Niagara, U.S. forces would focus their attention to the south. The Americans would eventually capture Fort Erie and make their way into the peninsula. Again, they would clash with British troops at Chippewa and Lundy's Lane, making it one of the bloodiest battles of the war, and one of the deadliest battles ever fought on Canadian soil. Anyways, we fast forward 100 years and you'll find one of the longest streets in Niagara Falls that has unique boutiques, gift shops, an assortment of restaurants, and what else? Hotels and motels for tourists and honeymooners. And holy moly, Lundy's Lane has a shitload. What's crazy to me is that many of these motels look like they're frozen in time and still have the same art deco from the time they were constructed. I have no idea how all these motels stay in operation, but they are. I totally get that Niagara Falls is a popular tourist spot that attracts 30 million people a year, but my god, some of these motels aren't even close to the falls. I'm serious, the furthest motel is 10 kilometers down the road, not even close to the falls and really situated in the middle of nowhere. The prices of rooms vary as you drive down the lane, and the closer you get to the falls, the more luxurious the hotels get. There are a few wedding chapels on the street too, just in case you want to tie the knot here and smash the honeymoon at the same time. Places like the Hilton, Embassy Suites, the Marriott, the Sheraton Hotel, and the Crown Plaza have better proximity to all the attractions and definitely has better views of the falls. In fact, the Crown Plaza is where Marilyn Monroe stayed when they were filming the movie Niagara, which, you guessed it, featured two honeymooners in Niagara Falls. The story capitalized on the romance of this location, and the city was abuzz as it was filmed over the 2-week period in June of 1953. Since then, Niagara Falls has been the setting of a number of on-screen romances. Lois Lane and Clark Kent are seen at the falls in Superman 2.
Is this your first visit to Honeymoon Haven? Together, anyway.
While Jim and Pam famously said "I do" on the Niagara boat tour in 2009 on an episode of The Office. All the while, couples from all over the world have continued to flock to Niagara Falls for a romantic honeymoon. Clearly, the romantic reputation of the falls is still going strong. As a matter of fact, many people believe that the mist itself has some freaky-deaky aphrodisiac powers that can increase the likelihood that a woman could get pregnant. That's right. The falls has a mystical power to make you get it on.
Yeah, baby!
There was also a bridge constructed in 1898 that stretched from the American to the Canadian side called the Honeymoon Bridge. Yes, the freaking Honeymoon Bridge, which eventually collapsed like most of the marriages that came into Niagara, I'm sure. Even a popular 80s rock band called Honeymoon Suite came out of the Niagara Falls area. Everything about Niagara Falls somehow is associated with honeymoon. It's crazy. Heck, the word honeymoon doesn't show up in text until 1804, and the first couple we know who took a post-marriage journey to the falls was 1801. That means people were honeymooning in Niagara Falls before it was popular. My god, there were honeymooning there before historians even say honeymooning existed.
Whatever.
It is no wonder why this is considered the honeymoon capital of the world. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked the video.